episode of the Ask Alex Show, where normally I would talk about movie news, TV news, and things of that nature. But today I have a special interview. Someone I've been wanting to interview for a little minute now, someone I've been following amongst my just actor journey. You have seen this woman all over social media. She was at one point a host for AfterBuzz. She's also done a lot of cool movies that I was just now finding out about as I was doing my research. You've also may have seen her interact with the Breaking Through acting crew. Some of them have been on my show. I have no other than Miss Tiffany Toney here on the Ask Alex Show. How are you doing today, Miss Tiffany?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh man, thank you. Thank you once again for being on the show. When I was doing my research, I there was a video that you posted that caught my attention on how you first got started in acting and how you moved to California and everything. Um, can you tell us how you first got started in acting and like I think at one point you even said you were homeless. How were you able to transition into where you are now?
Yeah, man, it's been a journey for sure. It's interesting because a lot of times when we think of like homelessness or homeless people or people, in situations that we couldn't really see ourselves in, we think about people who are like uneducated, or we think, oh, they must have done something to, lead them down this path, or maybe they're on drugs, or we always go to the extreme. And the reality is like, when you take a risk doing anything that's outside of the quote unquote norm, or like what we've been taught or conditioned to do in society, you're going to hit rough patches because it's completely unknown. So for me, like, I took my first acting class when I think I was like 18 or 19 in college. And my degree was actually in journalism. So I was like working at a news station, and I was a news writer in DC. And I thought that was what I wanted to do until I got a job doing it. And I hated it. I was like, I'm too emotional for this. Like, this
Hmm.
is not what I want to do. So I was like, you know what? That acting class was really fun. Maybe that's where I can really like use my gifts. And
Hmm.
so after that, I went and played pro sports in Europe
Hmm.
for like a year. And I had a lot of time to just like think and evaluate my life. And I was like, I'm going to move to LA. So I
Hmm.
literally, when I got back, I just bought a one-way ticket, and I didn't know where I was going to stay. I didn't know like how it was going to work out, but I just knew that my spirit was calling me to LA. And
Hmm.
so, of course, I underestimated how challenging that was going to be, and I did end up homeless. I had like $2,500, I think, moving out here, and that
Hmm.
was gone in, like a month, maybe less.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I was homeless. I was living in a car, and then I ended up living in a youth hostel for a while, and then was homeless again, stayed on a couple people's couches, and eventually I just, started taking on little odd jobs here and there until I got myself to kind of like a stable enough position where I could take some acting classes and start building relationships. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's been about a decade of work though. It wasn't overnight. I know a lot of people on social media see like me posting all this stuff recently, and it looks to them like it was overnight, but it's definitely been a journey for sure. So,
Wow. That's
yeah.
actually inspiring because as someone like myself, I'm into the filmmaking and acting aspect here. I mean, in Orlando, it's not as I would say active as it would be in California. But when I talk to actors who live in California, they essentially kind of went through the same thing. They were either sleeping at a bus station or trying to, book gigs while trying to live this thing called acting. And a lot of people who go to Hollywood, they'll go there and then they wind up going home. But I noticed that during your journey, you just stayed consistent. But my next question was, what was that one job you got where you were like, yes, this is it. Like I'm going to continue doing this. This is where I believe I should be.
I think I always knew that it was where I should be, even from the time I was a little girl. I
Mm-hmm.
just, I didn't know how, or, what it was going to take in order for me to do it. But I think the first time that it was like surreal for me that I'm like actually in LA doing this, I
Mm-hmm.
was on the Universal Studios lot. I actually booked a role in it was a short film through the New York Film Academy, but we
Mhm.
were filming on the Universal lot. And so like just being there and looking around and seeing all of these sets that I recognized from like movies that I watched growing up as a little girl,
Mhm.
and just being in that space and being like, oh my gosh, I'm like now making a movie on the same lot. And it was
Mhm.
really crazy. And I mean, like I said, that was just a short film, but it was enough for me to be like, this is hard, but I'm not going home. You know, it was enough for
Yeah.
me to know, like, okay, God, I hear you. I'm on the right path, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Oh, okay. So, the first time I seen you acting on anything was a movie called Lazarus.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
how did you get that part, and how did you link up with the cast and crew of Lazarus? Because I believe that movie is still on either I think Peacock or Tubi TV is when I saw when the
Mhm.
first time I saw it.
Yeah, so I was actually a personal trainer at a gym called G
Mhm.
Train Fitness, which actually still exists in the Valley. And
Mhm.
I was teaching these like group workout classes.
Mhm.
And at the time I was kind of frustrated because I'm like, dang, I'm doing personal training full time and I'm not really pursuing my dream because I didn't really know how. You know, I was just like, I'm going on
Mhm.
auditions and I'm taking acting classes and I'm not really booking much, but I
Mhm.
still got to pay my bills. So
Right.
then this guy named Sean Riggs, who was actually the lead in that movie and the producer
Mhm.
of it,
Mhm.
walks into the gym one day and he and I actually became really good friends. And he one day was just like, hey, you want to come help out on the set of a movie that I'm making? And I
Mhm.
was like, sure. I didn't know it was going to be Lazarus or this huge deal. Like it was an actual movie. I had no idea. And so I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, sure. I just wanted to be around. And so I was there working as a production assistant. And then the director, R.L. Scott, who actually just recently passed away,
Yeah. Yeah.
rest in peace to RL. But he was like, hey, I saw him and Sean whispering in the corner and they were like, hey, do you think if we give you a couple lines and give you some wardrobe that you could deliver the lines? And I
Mhm.
was like, yeah, sure. I honestly had no idea if I could do it or not, but I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity. So they gave me a couple lines and I did a good job. And then next thing I knew, I was working with RL on other projects and co producing with Sean and
Mhm.
then making a movie of my own. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's pretty cool because I met I haven't met RL directly, but I met him through social media. Actually,
Yeah.
I kind of met him through Choice Skinner in a sense because
Hmm.
I noticed he was doing the movie, and then I remember when he said it was out, and I watched it, and I was like, yo, some of these people are in this movie look very familiar, and which leads me to my next question. How did you
Yeah.
get linked up to? Because James and Black, one of my good friends, someone I talk to almost well not every day, but I talk to periodically. And Choice Skinner, I know that you guys are connected to one another in a sense. Did you ever join the Breaking Through Acting workshop, or do you guys know each other from just working on different projects?
I actually never did join the acting workshop. I studied Meisner at a different place, but I
Mhm.
met James through a project that he and I were both cast in.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the funding fell through and we didn't actually get to make that project,
Mhm.
but we got to build a really amazing relationship. And we got to trust each other because we had to do a lot of action fight choreography together where
Mhm.
I was like throwing him around, he was throwing me around, you know, we're throwing punches within inches of each other's faces. And so we had to really like develop a trust for each other. And
Mhm.
so that was how I came to met him. I only met Choice one time, but he
Mhm.
seems like a really amazing guy. And then I don't know if you know China McCoy, who
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, he did the Matrix movies and he
yeah.
is a mentor of mine, and me, him and James worked together a lot, and we just, you know, through that project that didn't actually manifest, it
Mhm.
led to other projects working out. So yeah, so that's how I met them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it seems like it's kind of like I know what Choice was telling me. It's kind of like it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I noticed that
Absolutely.
a lot of you guys have been like in the same space, what kind of leads me into my next question. I noticed
Mhm.
because I was looking through your IMDb the last
Yeah.
couple of days, and it looks like you've done other movies and other projects as well. But one of the movie I wanted to ask you about is one of my favorite movies. It's called Step Up 2, where you were
Oh,
actually I think you were a like just were you a dancer or were you just
I was
an
just like
extra?
one of the party girls. That was actually the first movie I was ever in, like the
Uh-huh.
first legitimate movie that I was in, and they shot that in Baltimore. I was still in
Oh.
college. I barely even had moved to I hadn't even moved to LA yet.
Mhm.
And I was actually I can't get in trouble for this now, so I'll tell you. But I
Uh-huh.
was a NCAA college athlete,
Oh,
and we had,
okay.
yeah. So I was supposed to be at volleyball practice, but I was sick shooting that movie. I was like, I can't miss out on this, you know?
Uh-huh. Did you ever meet any of the cast and crew or the dancers, or you were just, or did they had you guys section off away from the main cast?
To be honest with you, I don't remember how like the sectioning was, but I did get to meet Channing Tatum and he was so nice,
Mm-hmm.
just very kind. And just seeing him be like on like take after take after
Mm-hmm.
take, even though it was cold and we were
Mm-hmm.
all wet from like the fake rain and
Mm-hmm.
it was like 40 degrees. I mean, we were in Maryland, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like raining and he just continued to be on take
Mm-hmm.
after take after take and he didn't complain and he just was on his game every single time the camera came on, you know, and I was like just watching him and I'm like, you know, I think a lot of people sort of take him for granted as an actor, but actually
Mm-hmm.
seeing him on set and seeing how hard he worked and how dedicated he was no matter how many hours we had been there, it was just like really inspiring, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool because I've always wanted to meet Channing and he's super talented from dancing to acting to fighting. I mean, at this point, all we need to do is see him sing and he can do everything at that point. But I did want to ask I've noticed on your social media you do a lot of fight choreography.
yeah.
Did you study martial arts as a little girl and just it kind of just manifests as you got older, or is that something you just studied as you got into Hollywood?
Well, it's really interesting because I was obsessed with the Ninja Turtles growing up.
Ah,
And
okay.
so I did take Kyokushintai martial arts as a child from the time I was probably like 8 years old until maybe 11 or 12. And
Mhm,
then I sort of lost touch with martial arts and started playing softball. And that was what, you know, earned my scholarship to college with softball. So I kind of just focused on that.
mhm,
But as an adult, like RL actually was like, hey, you know, you look pretty fit and athletic. I think you could probably do fight choreography. And he cast me in a project called I Declare War, which
mhm,
actually never got made. But
mhm,
we trained the fight choreography for about 8 months during that time.
mhm,
And him and China McCoy actually taught me so many things. But it was like, I sort of still had the muscle memory from when I was in martial arts as a kid. And
mhm,
at that point I was just like, I really should continue I should continue doing this, you know?
mhm.
So it's kind of a combination of both. I did do it as a child and then I picked it back up later on as an adult. So
Okay, that's
yeah.
pretty cool. Because there was I don't I forget what movie it was, but there's a fight scene of you, it looks like you're fighting 2 cops.
Oh
Um
yeah, that was a so this guy named Action Jackson is
mhm,
actually doing he's like a top Billboard recording artist. He's
mhm,
a really brilliant mind
mhm,
and he actually did a series called 5150 to
mhm,
accompany um his next album. And so it's basically like series content and then the music, but he's putting them together. And so I play his love interest in that project called
mhm,
5150, and essentially it's about a guy who you know, gets kidnapped by the government because he has these like special abilities,
mhm,
and she sort of breaks into the place to set him free. It's like a Bonnie and Clyde type story,
mhm.
but hip hop infused. So
Okay, that's pretty cool
yeah.
because I saw the clips that you were showing on social media or on Instagram, and I was like, "Yo, I would never want to get in a fight with her," because the way you were handling those cops, I was like, "Wow!" Like it was, and it was shot really cool. Like I like how the camera was tracing you and the other actors, and it looked like you know it was shot like you something you would see in a theater. But my next question is before we get into Bora, 2020 came and it kind of was like it kind of shell shocked a lot of everyone in terms of their creativity. How did the pandemic affect you from, you know, continuing acting and doing your own projects?
It's really interesting because the pandemic was actually, although it was really hard and we lost a lot of people we loved, which I think everybody can relate to, and it was very scary. I think it was the best thing that could have happened for me because it made me realize like I don't really know how much time I have, you know, and
Mm,
I have to go harder at this than I ever have. And so the pandemic for me, it like lit a fire under me,
mm,
to the point where I was like, I will not let anything stop me from getting this movie done, you know. And that was what I did. I just, you know, we cheated a lot of things, a lot of shots. I'm like, okay, you know, we can't have 100 people in this scene, but we can have 25, and we
mhm,
can spread them out, or, you know, shoot it in a way to where it looks like 100 people. So we just had to
mhm,
get really creative. I
mhm,
will say though that it was definitely scary, and it challenged us as creatives because we had to kind of like find ways around the rules, and the rules
mhm,
were changing every month, you know. So it was like,
mhm,
you know, we just didn't know what the rules were going to be in
mhm,
a week.
mhm,
So one of the magical things that happened for me during the pandemic was I booked a role in a film called Black Skin,
mhm,
by this director named Mark Casey, and it
mhm.
was all about, you know, we actually shot some of this film in Minneapolis, where the George Floyd memorial is, and so
Oh,
I got the
wow.
chance to just experience the magnitude of that. And it was shortly after it happened, you know, so that was
Mhm,
really an emotional experience. But it was also, I felt like I was a part of history being in that film. So I filmed that, and then I think I shot that while I was making Bora. So
mhm,
yeah, it was, you know, I just told myself, I was like, I'm not going to audition for anything else. If
mhm,
someone calls me directly and wants me to work with them, I will, but I have to finish my movie
mhm.
during this pandemic. I have to finish my film because I knew that that was going to be the thing that kind of like let people know who I was, you know?
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up because getting into Bor, I noticed that you're acting, you're directing, and you're writing in this movie. And I saw the trailer. Well, before I jump into the trailer, I noticed like during the course of a couple of years, I know that you're promoting it. So I saw promotion art. I saw the different cast members who were in it. By the way, if you guys have not seen the trailer, it's definitely on Instagram and on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description below. But I will say, when I saw the trailer, it looked very captivating because I see you, I see James, I see you have Omar Gooding in the movie. You have like a lot of different uh, actors and characters in this movie, and it seems like it's a very independent story, in my opinion, about human behavior, and
Mm.
it looks really cool. So, could you tell us about Bora and how did this story get born within you for you to just tell this story and put it all together?
You know, I'm like, where do I begin?
Mhm,
For me as a creator, like a lot of the things that I create are sort of like spiritual downloads.
mhm,
And I don't know if that resonates with everybody, but like it was one of those things where I just started typing, and it was almost like a puppet master was like just moving my hands. I couldn't stop. This character was speaking through me, and I couldn't stop writing. And
mhm,
there were, of course, like several revisions of the script, but for like the essential story, was Bora was a combination of people, places, and things that I either knew, experienced, or witnessed. And for me, the important thing about it was really just the emergence of Black and Brown culture because, like,
mhm,
you know, I identify as a Black woman, but I also grew up around, like, you know, Mexican and Hispanic culture and food and
mhm,
lowriders in Texas. And, like,
mhm,
you know, my aunt, like, you know, she's from Mexico, and my cousins that she adopted didn't speak English at all when they moved here. And so we were like learning English and Spanish together as kids. And
mhm,
so I grew up in a space where it was like I was able to sort of move fluidly between Black and Brown communities.
mhm,
And I wanted to create something that sort of like expressed what a world would look like if
mhm,
there were no lines
mhm,
between us, like if the
mhm,
lines were completely erased and we all were a part of the same churches, schools, gangs, all of it, you know. And
mhm,
so I was like, what would that look like, and then what would a villain in that world look like?
mhm.
And thus Bora was born.
Okay, so is this your first time directing, writing, and acting at this all at the same time? Is when I meet actors who do that all at the same time,
Mhm.
it can be taxing on you because like you know what's in the script,
Yeah.
you're directing, but you're also in the movie. So obviously you have to trust your DPs and other cameramen. But
Right.
you told me earlier that James was a DP on
Mhm.
the project as well as editing the project.
Yeah.
Would you say it was challenging as you were doing each scene by scene? And how quickly or how long did it take for you to complete everything?
Well, I will say that it was difficult, but it also, I knew that if I didn't do it that way, that it wouldn't get done and that it wouldn't get done right, because it was
Mhm.
hard for me to translate what's happening in my head with a story that was this important with so much detail to anyone else. And I also didn't have like some huge investor that had my back on this. It was really mostly my my money. And so
Mhm.
knowing that, it was like I initially did have a director, but it didn't work out. It just, we couldn't get on the same page. And the product that we had was just not at all what I envisioned. So we actually completely scrapped. We shot this movie twice. The
Oh,
first time we
wow.
shot, yeah, the first time we shot it, we completely scrapped it, threw it away. I was like, this isn't what I wanted. This just isn't it. And I started again. I started all over. And it was really hard for me at first to convince James and China and Najima, the lead in this movie, like, hey, we
Mhm.
got to do this again, guys. Because I barely had the money to pay them what they're worth. I was like
Mhm.
paying them just like, here's some money, here you go, like as I went, and I'm
Mhm.
just one person, I'm not a studio.
Mhm.
But they believed so much in the story and they believed so much in the vision. And they were like, fine, we'll shoot your little movie again. And so this time around, it's
Mhm.
it's such a blessing that that happened, by the way, because
Mhm.
had we not started over, I wouldn't have had Earthquake, I wouldn't have had Omar Gooding, I wouldn't have
Mhm.
had Noel G, and
Mhm.
so the second time around, it was like I was so sure of what I wanted that when
Mhm.
I went to them, it was the mission and the purpose was so clear, and they
Mhm.
were just like, yes, absolutely, yes. They didn't even know who I was,
Mhm.
but they were like, I believe in what you're doing, and yes.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay, so,
And it
as
took 2 years, by the way, because we shot it twice.
oh,
So
wow.
yeah, in a pandemic.
Yeah, because I know that can be definitely challenging, especially shooting something twice, like shooting it, scrapping it, and doing it all over again. I know that can be like a lot of different emotions. So, and I know when I shot my first fan film,
Mhm.
man, that was like God really humbled me in that
Yeah,
because it's like it can be a lot. But my next question is that in the trailer, as you're watching it, like I mentioned earlier, it kind of seems like a version of what it's kind of like a story about human behavior, how people would react
absolutely.
to certain things. So could you tell us what the movie is
It's about,
about in like
yeah,
a like without giving anything away?
absolutely. So Bora is a psychological thriller
Mm-hmm.
about a girl who goes on a road trip to find herself, and she
Mm-hmm.
encounters this hitchhiker in the form of a rolling stoner who is
Mm-hmm.
Bora, and Bora takes her down this dark road of temptation,
Mm-hmm.
and it causes her to question everything that she's ever believed in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Oh.
definitely a spiritual and magical journey
Mm-hmm.
that's infused with hip hop. Um, we have Mexican rappers, Black rappers, female rappers, singers, everybody all on the same accord. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. It's a cultural experience. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of fun, and it's also kind of spooky. So
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was looking at the promotion art of you holding like a mask, and then it's you behind the mask. Yeah, 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 that looks so cool. Okay. No, so I wanted to ask, like going into production, because like you said, it was all you. You had your own budget and everything. Was it hard, I would say, raising the money or saving the money to make this project? Because it's like you said, you had James, you had Earthquake, you had Omar, you had your lead character. Was it hard to not just pay them, but also, I guess, get permits if you got permits, or find good location to do certain things? Because I noticed even in the trailer, there's scenes where you're in a car and it's driving. I know that
Mhm.
sometimes getting those shots can be difficult, especially in a high traffic city like LA. So when you were putting
Yeah.
this all together and budgeting all this other stuff, would you say it was like difficult, or was it easy to get the money that you needed to produce this project?
Honestly, it was extremely difficult. I spent my own money, which most people completely advised against, but it was like I said, it was a spiritual calling that I knew that something outside of myself was telling me, you know what, you have $5,000, do what you can with that. And then as soon as I had spent $4,599. Another 5,000 just came out of nowhere from a job that I randomly booked, or a check that, that was delayed, and just like magical things like that just kept happening for me over and over and over. I didn't really know what the budget was going to be, or even have a budget in
Mm-hmm.
mind. It was just like I knew that a force outside of myself was telling me this movie had to be made, and I just refused to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had people that really believed in me in the form of James and China
Mm-hmm.
and Ojima as well, who were just like, whatever it takes, we're with you,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't always able to pay people right away. A lot of people just believed in the magic of what I was doing and what me and
Mm-hmm.
my team were doing. And they were like, I know a person who will let you shoot here for free, or, I know this street that a lot of cars don't drive down. You should go there. Or, so I had to really just be creative and crafty about each scene
Mm-hmm.
and how I was going to make a very, very low budget look like $1 million. And so
Mm-hmm.
James and China, they really subscribe to my belief in that. And China has a really expensive eye. Like, he knows how to take, just a stop sign and make it look like so
Mm-hmm.
magical. And so when
Mm-hmm.
working with him and James, the three of us were able to really come together and be like, how do we take what we have and just make it look like $1 million? Like, how do we do that? And then luckily on Instagram, I met this guy named McGrady.
Mm-hmm.
McGrady OG. He's an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and he is from LA, from Pico Union. He's a rapper, a singer songwriter, creator, filmmaker, all of these things too. And I met him because he owned a bunch of lowriders,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, hey, I want to use your lowriders in my movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I met him, and I didn't know that he did music and film as well. When I met him, I just was looking at the cars.
Mm-hmm.
But then he was like, hey, there's a liquor store in my community that you can use for this scene. We'll pull
Mm-hmm.
the cars up in this scene, and like, just pay us what you can. Like, we just believe in what you're doing, and we
Mm-hmm.
want to be a part of it. And it was just like magical things like that just kept happening over and over and over. And I knew, I was like, okay, like, somebody up there's looking out for me and for everybody involved in this project. So there was no real, like, it wasn't like one of those things where we're like, yeah, we met a bunch of producers and we budgeted and we decided. And no, it was literally like I moved on intuition and asked people to blindly trust me, and for some reason they did.
Wow,
So
that's what I call God's blessings. Like when God gives you something, I firmly believe you just go and he'll just lay it out for you every single way you go. Obviously there's going to be hiccups, but even in those hiccups, God just, just comes through when he comes through. And it's actually really cool that you said that it looks like $1 million movie, because I never thought when I saw it, well, I saw the trailer at least, I never thought it was low budget at all. I really thought at some point you were putting it in theaters, in particular in LA, and then
uh,
obviously releasing it online. I know that at some point you're going to be releasing it online, but have you thought about putting it in theaters or shopping it to like a Netflix or a Peacock or a Tubi or even like a Hulu, anything like that?
absolutely. That's
Mm,
actually our first move. I've been having
mm,
some meetings with distributors, and we're just seeing who's going to want to be the first to host our content on their platform. So we've had some great meetings. We're going to have some events coming up soon. We're going to do like a Halloween slash Day of the Dead party, just to kind of like get everybody to the website and the social media. It's going to be on October 28th at the W Hotel here in
mm,
Hollywood. And so we're going to do that and just, give away some free gifts and stuff like that, so that people can, just learn about the website and learn about who Bora is and the story. And then in November, I want to do a premiere here in LA. But again, that kind of depends on what these platforms that we've already pitched to have to say. Because if they
mm,
decide to pick it up and stream it, then they're of course going to want to navigate how the premiere is done. So
mm,
it's really just kind of a conversations and waiting and conversations and waiting.
mm.
But in the event that it doesn't get picked up right away, we definitely are looking at film festivals. So
Oh, I can't wait. Like I can't wait to watch the movie. Like I said before, it looks amazing. Definitely
thank you.
caught my attention. So I can't wait to see where the story goes. And if you guys have not seen the trailer, like I said, I'll link in the description below. But Tiffany, I want to thank you so much for being on the
Of
show
course.
today.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime, anytime. And I love connecting with actors who are out there doing their own thing, creating their own content, and just being bigger in the thing that they love. So it's
Mhm.
actually very inspiring for me as I continue on my
I'm
path
so
as well.
glad. And if you get a
Oh.
chance, you can check out the website. It's
Mhm.
borathemovie.com, and you can check out the website. There's actually like some pretty cool merch on there. We've got little beanies,
Mhm.
shirts, crop tops,
Mhm.
hoodies, and then like we'll be putting up the dates for the premiere once we have them on the website so that everybody can check that out. The trailer is there. There's some really cool pictures and videos on the site. So yeah, I'm really excited to share it with the world, and just trying to time it right. And God's gotten us this far, so I'm like, the rest is the easy part.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely, definitely. And like I said, I can't
mhm,
wait to see it. I'm definitely going to purchase it and see it. Or if I'm ever in LA, God willing, I'll definitely see it on your premiere. But
thank you.
yeah, I wanted to ask as well, where can my fans and followers find you on social media and get more connected into the things that you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram all the time.
Mhm, mhm,
It's at Tiffany underscore underscore Tony, and that's
mhm,
Toney.
mhm.
Tiffany like the jewelry store, Tony like the boxer.
Oh, okay. I never thought of it like that, but okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, cool. And you know where to find us guys here at Momentum Media. Just type in Momentum Media on YouTube. You'll definitely find us here on our YouTube channel. Tiffany, I want to thank you again for being on the show. This was such an impactful, inspiring interview. So I would love to have you back once the
Absolutely.
premiere comes out and we can talk more
I'm
about the
going to be
movie.
dropping a book too in January at the start of the year that kind of just sort of shares some of my secrets on how I was able to make this happen, and,
Mm.
just some gems for independent filmmakers. So when I'm ready, then maybe we can come back and talk about that.
Oh, definitely. What's the book called, by the way, if you haven't already released the title?
I haven't decided the title, but the book itself is almost finished. And
Mhm.
I'm working with like three different titles, trying to decide which one I want to go stick with. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. When all of that comes out, I'll definitely have you back on the show. We can talk more about that as well. But yeah, thank you once again for being on the show. And if you guys haven't seen this trailer, I implore you to see it. It's definitely a like an eye-grabbing trailer. Like I thought it was coming out in theaters, so I can't wait for you guys to see it, and I can't wait to see it as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel where you get all the updates of every time releasing a video here on my YouTube channel. I want to thank Tiffany again for being on the show as well. And thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, you guys have a blessed day.